Hey, welcome back, fowl lifers. Today I want to talk a little bit about controlling water. If you want to plant things like Japanese millet, rice, even corn, which I haven't done, or sorghum, those kinds of things, milo, you have to control your water. If you've got a duck hole, you got to get water off of it so you can plant. You got to keep it off throughout the growing season. Obviously, rice can tolerate some. It can keep its feet wet. It can't be covered, but you know, if it's sitting in 3 or 4 inches of water, I think that's actually how they do it in agriculture to keep weeds down. And even I think Japanese millet will tolerate some. But for the most part, you're going to want to keep that stuff dry. You might also need to dry it out a little bit so you can get it and work it. If you've got a beaver swamp, if you walk through one, you know that mud can be, you know, sometimes a foot deep if it's an old pond. So if you can get it dried out, let it dry out for several months, then you can walk on it a little bit easier. And if you need to clear out buckbrush, take out some trees, do whatever. You can also, with water, and I haven't really tried to do this, but I've read about it, is you can do some moist soil habitat management. That's managing your duck property for natural vegetations. Around here, we've got a lot of smartweed. We've got some duck potato growing in here as well, which are a couple of good things, particularly smartweed, right? Oh, there's a frog talking to me. But there's a whole kind of management plan for doing moist soil habitat, where you bring that water down slowly and let it come up, or bring the water down slowly in the early spring, late winter, and then bring it up slowly, getting ready for the season to keep that. What you're doing is you're holding back succession. You don't want to get a bunch of woody plants in there. And the time of year you take the water off can affect that. One of the holes we have up the creek a little bit, the dam sprung a leak and drained it out. Like in a day, it's probably over an acre worth of water that was almost knee deep in some places, over knee deep in some places. And in a day it was gone because the little dam back in there plugging up a ditch sprung a leak. And that was in February last year. Well, that place right now is covered up in smartweed. So that early drawdown, I think, promoted the smartweed to come in. Buckbrush is still in there really, really bad. So I will probably drain that one again at the end of the season this year, so that I can come in and get a good hard bottom. It's flooded right now from a big storm we had, but get a good hard bottom so I can get in there and clear out some of that buckbrush. But I want to show you how I did this spot. One of my goals was cheap and easy. You can get, you know, a nice flashboard riser. There's a place, I think it's called Osceola Machine Works, that makes really nice looking flashboard risers that you can use 2x4s to drop down in and control the height of your water. I think for one that's about 3 foot high, that uses a 12-inch outflow pipe, like a piece of 12-inch culvert, either plastic or metal, they're selling those for just a little over $200, which honestly I think is a pretty good deal. And if I had a more permanent area where I was draining a lot bigger area, I'd really think about that. And I'm not saying that at some point in time I won't do that in here, but I went for the cheap and easy this time. So I'll show you what I got. I'll give you an overview real quick. On this hole, the creek is right there. It's 20 yards away. There's a creek right here that is probably over your waders in a lot of places. So it's always got water. Fluctuates up and down, but it always has water. I am sitting on a ditch that the beavers have dug through here over the years. So I've been coming up here for about 15 years, and this has always been a wet spot in here of varying degrees. But the beavers have dug this out because they like to go up in the bean field and grab stuff to shove into their hut. But they've been clearing trees out, and this is their little highway for coming through here. Now this is really advantageous for me here because it allows me to easily flood the creek by just opening this up. So I've plugged this off, and the way I'm controlling the water, allowing it to come in or keep it from coming out, is very simple. I bought 100 feet of 4-inch drainage pipe from Lowe's. I think Home Depot has the same thing, but my Lowe's had it in stock, so I got it from them. It was 100 feet, about $115. I cut it into 4 equal sections. I've got one here, which is controlling inflow, and then I have one on the other side where the beavers built another dam to hold water back in here. So I've got it, right now it's open, so any water that falls in here is going to drain out. This one is closed, so it is preventing the creek from coming in. And I'm looking right now, the creek is probably 5 or 6 inches taller or higher than my hole right now. So it's keeping my millet and my rice and whatever else I got growing in there, it's keeping it dry. It's keeping it from flooding out, so it's going to continue to dry. Neat thing about this hole is that it has a couple of ditches that run through it that stay wetter. They just recently finally dried out completely from all the heat and sun we've had. But that kind of wicks back in, so the ground here has stayed damp. Even though it doesn't have water on it, that water is wicking out into the soil and keeping things nice and moist, so the plants are doing well. I'll keep an eye on it over the next couple weeks. If it starts to really dry out and crack, I may do a flood irrigation. I may come in here, drop this guy down, fill it up, let it sit there for a day, drain it back out. Boom, Bob's your uncle. I'm in good shape. So we'll talk a little bit about that if the time comes. But let me hop up here real quick, pick you guys up, turn you around so you can see both how I've plugged this ditch here to keep water out, how I have installed a drain in the Beaver Dam and what that entailed, and then how I'm kind of controlling the water flow with each of those things. All right, let's check it out. All right, so let's take a look at how we're doing this. So here you can see, as I mentioned, we've got the creek that goes back in here. This is our main creek that runs along through the property, along the edge of the property, and comes and backs up in here. This is, you can see actually a little beaver hut right here that's been there for a couple years, but it comes in, you can see how it flows through here, and I've plugged it here. I don't know how it's going to show on camera, but that water's higher over here than it is over here. So I just came up here, had a good buddy of mine that came and helped me. We got shovels and we dug some holes, but we laid this drain pipe down here and covered it up with dirt. That end's only got a couple feet out, but this end, the bulk of it, it's about a 20-25 foot section here. I've got it laid down in here that I can drop down to flood whenever I see fit. So you can see here what I've done. Let me get closer. I've just got some wire. I took a piece of Romex apart, ripped the conductors out of it because that's a nice stiff wire, drilled a little hole through the pipe, and I've just got that tied off. And one of my concerns with this was that this big old pipe gets full of water, it's going to be heavy, right? That's 20 feet of pipe full of water. Water's heavy. No, not a problem at all. I grab that wire, just pick it up, water runs out the back end, no issues at all. So that's worked really well so far. It's holding water out. You can see I need to add to it. I don't want it to be the lowest spot. I'm probably going to get in here and build that up some more. It's settled. We got good clay soils down in here, which is helping us out a bunch. Obviously, if you have real sandy soils, you probably can't do this. But I want to get in and build that up. I want to make it wider and taller. Just so, you know, when the water does come up. Last year, this all had ankle deep water. You can see how deep this ditch is. It's, you know, it's almost waist deep when you're standing down in it. And then this came up and this had, you know, ankle deep water through it as well. So if that happens, I want it to run off to the side or something first before it runs over my plug, just to help it with not washing out. So that's on the inflow side where water comes in through the creek. Let me jump over here to the other side where the dam's holding water in. We'll talk about that. Hey guys, just a quick note, if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there on YouTube with my new channel, help me out by, you know the routine, the like, the subscribe, and comment. I don't understand the full dynamics of YouTube just yet, but I know that's going to help. I think it will help in the search. Other people that are interested in this kind of content, you know, if you're clicking on that stuff, it bumps it up, helps my channel, helps it grow, helps share it with others. So if you can, you know, hit that holy trinity of YouTube there, the like, comment, and subscribe. I do want to hear comments. You know, if you guys, I've asked questions, tell me what I'm doing here. But would definitely like to hear your thoughts, questions. I'm always happy to talk about duck hunting. So anything you can do to help it out, appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, now here we are on the other side, we just came from right over there. You can see that ditch that I'm sure combination of drainage and busy beavers has gotten in here and you know, had that lone spot where it dries out, drains through here. It also drains going up through there as well on into the woods there where there's another low area that holds water. But this is how we're holding the water back. Now, obviously, I had a helping hand from the beavers where they have plugged this up. It goes all the way over there past Rosie. You can see here it's about, you know, 3 feet high or so. And then they have extended and gone all the way down here. Not a big beaver dam by any means, but enough to hold the water out. Or hold the water in, I should say. So here we can see we got our outflow pipe there. Where I stuck some forked sticks in it. That stuff does float a little bit, so maybe I could dig out a little bit to get it to lay flat, but this was good enough. This kept the planting area dry, so that's all I was shooting for. But I did want to hold that down. The center block would probably do just as good. But we can come up here. Now, here was the really fun part, is digging through a beaver dam. So we just had shovels. My buddy Tom was in here with me, and we got after it. Tom, got in here and dug this out a bunch. We dug down to the bottom, and then we laid this pipe in and then backfilled it. And you can see it's laying down there. So any water that does come in, if we get a big rain, this starts to fill up, it's gonna run right out. This area, you know, if I'm looking all the way back to the trees there, that might be, it's longer than I want to shoot a duck. So 50, 60 yards, maybe a little less. I should range it. And then it goes that far again back up in there. I probably got all told an acre of water right here under kind of normal conditions. This drains it in about a day, which is fine, which is probably kind of good. I did some water seeding of rice where I threw the rice out in it, let it sit for a couple days, and then I pulled the plug here and let it come down real slow. And the rice, where it was on bare dirt, where I didn't have competition from other vegetation, came up nicely. So yeah, we can see this, it drains out, drains down to the creek right there. We'll see what happens if I get a period of long-term period of continuous water running, if the beavers try to get in here and fill this up. But I'll keep an eye on it on my trail cam. If I go through a period of a couple of days where it is staying flooded, I know I need to get out here.